Welcome to the continued podcast adventures of Superhero Speak.
But I think many of the people that love this character and that love superheroes in general have used these stories as inspiration to say, you know what? I'm going to do something good in the world. I'm going to make a difference like my hero when I was a kid.
That is my fondest memory of it, because when you're doing comic books, you want them to affect people, right? You want people to care. You want to strike emotions. And I knew that Clone Saga was striking a lot of emotions.
Can you imagine Pulp Fiction starring Goofy and Mickey Mouse?
I can totally imagine that.
I'm sure somebody's written that one too.
Quarter pounder with cheese in France, Mickey? What? Royale with cheese, Mickey. Yeah. I can totally.
See?
I would watch the hell out of that movie.
Yes, I gladly sacrifice that my progeny to you, almighty Marvel beast.
But Neil Adams is somewhere going, it's my time.
How do you measure success? Hey everyone, you're listening to Superhero Speak, and I'm your host Dave.
And John.
And JD.
And this is
What, you're not sure?
I'm the one who's supposed to I'm the one who's supposed to be the heavy drinker.
This is the podcast where three friends discuss the world of comics, and one needs professional help.
One?
Only one?
I'm not saying which one, though.
Yes, but we are insinuating that there is not just one.
Oh, I see. So, John, since you're the one who seems to be in a foul mood, how was your week?
My septic pump failed while I was away. It was shitty.
Going for the obvious joke. Woo!
It's just a lot of crap.
Oh, how about you, JD?
I'm all right.
Your week wasn't as shitty?
Yeah, it was okay.
I'm saying it was deep shit, damn it.
I just had a picnic with my family for dinner, so I'm in a pretty good mood.
Ah, good. Two ends of the proverbial spectrum. Wonderful. Well, I have nothing new to report in my life.
Nothing? You've got a grandkid.
No,
Come
I have
First
two.
word yet? Two, that's right. Well, it's like the what is it, Mary Kate and Ashley? There's really only one. There's just one moving very fast.
Oh, that was bad. So, last week we said to our audience that, we were looking for more interaction, and we actually got a lot of interaction on our Twitter feed this week in response to the stuff.
How many of them asked us why we were still here?
None. A lot of responses to the stuff we talked about, and one of the, obviously responses to our articles we talked about from the wonderful San Diego Comic-Con. So of course we talked about, and it was kind of just a joke thing Marvel did, and we just included it last week because we thought it was funny, and that was the counseling for people who were still upset about the end of Infinity War. And wow, people really, what's the word I'm looking for?
Can't take a joke?
Exactly. So Sean Bird responded, why is everyone a bleep now? A female kitten. Stop pandering to the weak people. It's just a movie. So my response to that was, movies are life, especially when you live in your mother's basement.
So we lost a fan on that one.
Maybe.
I'm okay with that one.
Well, now wait a minute. Let's address this a little bit. I mean, the whole point of hero stories is to move people, is to make them think, make them feel better about their lives, make them want to go out and do something heroic, to just get them moving. And the fact that these Marvel movies actually have this much passion behind them, that all these people feel this connected to it, that they actually get upset when, the end of Infinity War, I mean, even Tom Holland's death scene is pretty damn disturbing. So, what, you can't fault people for that. Marvel's doing a good job with these movies if we actually have people that are feeling that deeply about it. And if you don't, then why are you watching them?
Okay, I agree with that, but that's not what that guy's talking about. That guy's on the level thinking like, man, these blank word that we're not going to use. All these kids, they just need counseling because everybody's not tough as they used to be back when I was young. That's what it is.
He's talking about people who like, toast, who like toast with avocado on it, right?
Yes, I believe their term, the term of endearment they like to use is SJW. So,
that thing.
Well, one of those guys.
Is he an incel too? Never mind. You know what? I'm with you then. I'm not too unhappy about that. But
then another follower of ours, Indrid Cold, his response to it was, "This is where we are as a civilization in current year 2018. The time has come again to start a GoFundMe so I can build a spaceship and a terraform generator like in Aliens, so my cat and I can move to Mars. You people are beginning to scare me."
Well, again, they did just find water on Mars, so he's got a good shot.
Well, but again, it's like
it's a joke.
Right.
It's a joke. They didn't have it set up for real. They weren't actually counseling people. It's a gag because people got emotional. It's a gag.
That guy's fine. He's just looking to make sure that his cat is safe. I can get behind that.
I'm not so sure his cat is safe.
Yes, so that were the reactions to that story. And we talked about the return of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yes.
And we just, we asked people what they thought, and Mike Templeton said, loved it, having trouble not talking to people about it. So,
wow.
There you go. Somebody's looking forward to the new TMNT. This is here we go. So now we'll save this one for last. We'll save that one for last.
Okay.
So you remember we made a joke and we called the new Aquaman movie look like Underwater Thor.
Yeah.
And it kind of is. The more I look at the trailer, the more I think about it. And that's not a bad thing.
Yes. Well, again, Sean Bird, he might be just looking to poke at stuff.
Sean, we love you.
Because I said we really enjoyed the tweet that he's responding to is, the guys really enjoyed the trailer for Underwater Thor. Oops, I mean Aquaman, And then his response was, I hope it's better than female Captain Thor. I mean Wonder Woman. Again, you missed, obviously you didn't listen to the episode, so maybe me saying this doesn't mean anything because you're not listening now, but we meant visually, there was things in the Aquaman trailer that reminded us of Thor Ragnarok. Not that Aquaman is the underworld version of Thor, because Aquaman's the older character as well.
Well, and literally Aquaman, trailers give you the idea that Aquaman's whole attitude is the same like Thor in Ragnarok, which is, this is a comic book movie, we're going to have fun with it. Come along with me for a ride.
I've said it before. I'll say it again. It's a joke.
Hey, we talked about the return of the Uncanny X-Men. And we asked people if they were looking forward to the comic coming back, and Chet X simply said, "Sure am." So, that's a good one. Then we had, so I think we all were in agreement last week. Refresh me, guys, if you think I'm wrong, that we kind of thought the best trailer to come out of San Diego Comic-Con this year was Shazam, right?
Yeah.
I'll go with that.
And we're all really looking forward to it. It looks like it could be the best DC movie yet. And Diary of a Madman replied to us and said, "Yep, that is what everyone said about Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, Suicide Squad, and Justice League."
He's right about that.
But hey, I'm sure that's just a coincidence.
Do we have our very own troll now?
No, this is a totally different person, but he's making a good point.
He is. I mean, the job of the guy cutting the trailer is to make the movie look great, and the dude who cuts the Snyder trailers did a great job. Like, all those movies look great, and that's all we're saying. This is the best trailer. Could the movie completely suck? Yeah, I don't think it's going to, but I could be wrong. I was wrong about Man of Steel. So, remember when I said we should interact with people on Twitter more? Never let me speak again.
Well, here's the thing, though. I'll say this. I think the thing that the Shazam trailer showed that majority of all the trailers before this have not shown is the character himself and how he is in the movie and how he's going to act. And I can't think of the actor's name playing Shazam.
Levi. Yeah. Zachary
Levi, yes. Like, he's doing a great job, at least in the previews, of, a boy in a superhero's body. So I kind of think...
But if you watch Chuck, that's his
again, as long as
that's his acting niche.
As long as we have that throughout the movie, it should be a good movie.
Yeah, so. Well, I knowing his other work, I have great hope for him.
In response to us talking about the Mr. Glass preview, we have Chris. I can't say it. It's KRIZTUHFUH.
That guy.
Yeah. His avatar is Wolverine eating a banana.
Suggestive.
His response, I like this. "It's refreshing to see original characters being brought to a superhero horror genre. I'm sold." So, I agree. That's the appeal of it to me. It's new characters in a new setting. Okay. So, the last one I need to bring up is in response to our talking about, of course, James Gunn and the question of who should replace James Gunn.
We should have gotten the most feedback on this.
Surprised we didn't.
No, we didn't. And this is Indrid Cold again. And he said, actually, Marvel Zombie Blood had a marvelous, no pun intended, I swear, suggestion. Mel Gibson.
Steering into the skid.
Hey, at least he didn't have scores of tweets.
That's why there's no pun.
Hey, at least he didn't have scores of tweets. Okay, I'm not going to read the rest of that. So
just no.
So this has become my new favorite part of the show, where we read the tweets. This is phenomenal. Keep it going. Like, people listening, please tweet us again. This is awesome.
I will say we responded in kind. And the response was, Mel Gibson is too busy working on Suicide Squad 2 because DC doesn't care about character. Pun intended.
Oh. Well played.
Sure.
So thank you for everyone who's given us feedback on Twitter. We appreciate it. If that's where you're listening to the show, don't forget you can head over to iTunes or Stitcher or iHeartRadio or any of your favorite podcasting apps and subscribe. And if you're subscribing to us on iTunes or Apple Podcasts, please give us a review, and we really appreciate your help. So there we go. I
say we migrate to Tumblr.
So we're going to continue talking about feedback too. So keep tweeting at us. All right, now on to new news. We'll start with our favorite House of Ideas, Marvel. And speaking of ideas, Joss Whedon had revealed this week that he had no plans for Thanos other than the cameos that he had put into his movies.
That's not a surprise.
Really? I found that kind of shocking. Like,
he always has a plan. Oh, well, okay. Maybe. I read where a lot of the stuff he did in Buffy was not planned, but based on fan reaction to certain scenes where they were able to take it in context and make it, give it a history and make it something bigger than it actually was. But when you make the conscious decision to put Thanos in as an after credits trailer, I don't know.
He's not in control.
Yeah, I know he's not in control.
But I mean, Marvel directors are just guns for hire.
Right.
So what's his job to come up with the idea of Thanos? That's Feige, man.
It begs the question that, was he told, add these cameos for Thanos? Not.
I would assume that's the case, quite honestly.
Yeah.
Else he would have thought of something.
Right.
I could be wrong, but I mean, Feige seems to be the guy steering that ship. So if he's like, there's a reason why because that guy thinks about everything. Like John just said, he's got plots and he's got, ideas and master storylines. If he didn't think about Thanos and it was put in the movie, it's because he was told to put Thanos in the movie.
Yeah.
Right. And it also makes me wonder too, is that the real reason he walked away from Marvel was he knew Thanos was coming up. He had no ideas on a good storyline for him, so he was like, all right, I'm out,
he always has a good idea for a storyline, and if he doesn't, he'll think one up in a couple of minutes.
I think that you're right, it is, but I don't think it's the Thanos thing alone. I think if you watch Avengers 2, it's the worst example that Marvel's done of trying to serve too many masters.
Yeah.
I think that he walked not just because of Thanos as Thanos, but because he was being told what to do. The movies get taken, because he's used to being a showrunner, man. That showrunner's the guy in charge. And there it's Feige. So, I mean, like, you look at Avengers 2, there's all kinds of stuff that's just there to set up, I believe it was phase 2 of the Marvel movies.
Right. Okay. No, I agree. All right, I'm going to save this for the last Marvel and skip down to the other one. So there was another trailer released for season 2 of Iron Fist, and I believe they were the title of it was Bad Memories or something. And it's did you guys watch it?
I did not.
Yes, I did.
So
I did.
Okay, so it's Danny and Colleen walking down the street, and he keeps seeing things and making him have flashbacks to Kunlun, sorry. And what I found most fascinating about this trailer is in the flashbacks, he's wearing the classic Iron Fist mask.
I saw the pictures online of that. I dig that. I like the Iron Fist mask, so I'm cool with it.
So, which again begs the question, is it just going to be in the flashbacks, or is he going to end up wearing that by the end of the season? So, I think he should do it. That's my personal opinion. What do you think, John?
Well, where that fits into. I mean, everybody. Well, I don't know. I don't think he will, because it's not. It doesn't go with the personalities and the narrative that they've been working through. So it won't be. It wouldn't make a difference.
Okay. I think there's actually stills that were also released from the production, and there's scenes where Danny's wearing a mask like around the lower half of his face, which makes me wonder if he gets into situations where he starts going, "Oh, I've got to hide my identity." So we'll see.
Because he's Danny Rand, and
right,
that'd be bad for his corporation. Yeah, maybe. But yeah, well, I'm glad the whiny version seems to have gone away, but yeah. I don't know about brooding version either.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, the most important news of all from this past week, everyone was dying to know if this was going to happen. It's official. Disney Fox merger approved by the Disney shareholders. So they are now one company.
Well, there's phase 4. Excuse me. Fantastic phase 4.
I'm bummed about though. I mean, like as happy as I am that Marvel gets all their characters back, like I do think it's going to hurt filmmaking as a whole. Because now you get one less major studio. You get one less opportunity for voices to kind of get out there. If your stuff doesn't connect with one house, you can always find another one. And now there's just one less opportunity.
Have you seen the Fantastic Four movies so far?
I'm not talking about Fantastic Four. So I'm talking about like filmmaking. Like guys who have an opportunity. Like there's less opportunity for filmmakers to make money, because you can do independent film, that's one thing, but I mean to have a studio actually behind you, just it's a different game. Right. And there's one less studio in town. There's one less place to take a chance on a non-indie type project.
Gotcha. Yeah, I get that. I agree.
It also begs a lot of questions too, because of course Disney is known as the family-friendly entertainment company, and Fox has had a lot of, shall we say, questionable TV shows, cartoons, movies, whatnot. Like, what happens to those properties?
I think with Disney's always owned other studios that can do that stuff. Like in the 80s, they owned Touchstone. In the 90s, they owned Miramax. They always had a separate arm that can deal with the more adult level stuff. You just don't slap the mouse logo on it. But they're more than happy to make the money.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, that's that. I will say that that's true. And of course, with the news, you guys heard the other piece, right? The New Mutants movie and Dark Phoenix have both been shelved permanently.
Have they? I didn't see that.
After the trailer for New Mutants, or the teaser or whatever, I'm not surprised.
I just tweeted about that last night. I am so bummed that New Mutants movie will never see the light of day. I was so excited about that movie.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my God, it looks so awesome. It's a horror movie. It's the most unique way to do a superhero property.
Yeah, I mean, I was shocked by the Dark Phoenix being shelved as well, but
where was that information? The only link that I see is.
Could have sworn I saw that in one of the articles I read.
Wasn't the one you shared with us? I saw one just last night that said that they were still on track for next year releases.
Oh, maybe then.
But I'll take your word for it if that's legit. Because
actually,
I'm bummed.
Now I know
it's a rumor, but it's a fairly well sourced rumor.
Okay. Yeah. No.
It might be because of the Fox acquisition.
Right. Yeah. I just realized where I heard it was on a different podcast. I believe it was on the So Wizard podcast. So it's Joey's fault.
Okay. So this is a game of telephone, but it's also sourced on several sites on the web. So they are probably shelved, but don't get angry as if they suddenly pull out of the nosedive.
Last night, this is just last night, so who knows how much has changed. Last night, CBR says Dark Phoenix and New Mutants both confirmed for 2019 release by IMAX.
And I'm looking at something from 2 nights ago that says they could be scrapped.
This is from 4 hours ago. New Mutants canceled? ? Fox leaker backtracks on X-Men Dark Phoenix.
All right.
So
I'm looking at that. That's cosmic. But I'm going to take CBR over everybody else until CBR is a rumor site. That's actual news site. But I'm going to hold out hope that there's going to come out and then they can always wash it away later. I mean, it's done. You hate to spend money in a movie and let it sit there and do nothing.
Wait, Fantastic Four, Roger Corman?
That was $1 million. That's an ash can film. That movie was made so they could keep the rights for another cycle. That's something completely different. This movie's clearly not an ash can property. They spent money on that.
Right.
Like you hire Roger Corman to knock out a movie quick. Really quick in that case.
That's what Roger Corman's known for. Being really quick. Oh, wait. No.
Oh, good.
He was, actually.
So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. We'll see. Let's put it this way. It still seems up in the air. There were no announcements solid one way or the other what they were doing with the movie. But I agree with you, JD. You're not going to spend that kind of money on that movie just to have it sit.
I hope not.
Yeah.
We shall see.
We shall see, yes. All right. So the other Marvel news you wanted me to save to the end of the show. So I'm going to move on to DC. And apparently Ben Affleck is out again as Batman.
That's probably for the best at this point, to be honest with you.
Right. So the Batman so the role, according to Ben Affleck return, most people are assuming that the role will be recast with a younger actor when Matt Reeves, the Batman, heads into production. And then this week, yet another suggesting Affleck's DC exit has started making its rounds online.
Great. The one of the only good things about the DC movies, and he's going.
So it was Mark Hughes, who is a contributor to Forbes magazine, had tweeted out. Someone had asked about Batman, Ben Affleck being Batman, and he had tweeted out, he's not Batman in this movie. As of now, there is no plans to involve Affleck, and the situation behind the scenes is that he's been arranging his exit from the DCEU for months. I know fans hear this, but it's time to prepare yourselves for Batman without Affleck. So
they're kind of prepared for that. I mean, considering the rest of the movies, it seems like this whole DC universe is just falling to pieces.
Yeah,
we've got 2 Joker movies without Batman. We've got another Batman movie that isn't starring the one in the main series. We've got Wonder Woman, who's just blazing her own way through. Who knows if Shazam is going to be related to anything? Come on.
Well, like I say, Joker movies aside, I will say that the Aquaman trailer and the Shazam trailer look strong.
So we'll have the Justice League without Batman or Superman, basically.
I think, it just seems like in this world's a DC thing that they kind of announced that the DC movies are just going to kind of do their own thing and not worry about attaching to an overarching story, which is kind of what DC does best anyway. Like DC stuff's always at its worst or always at its most gimmicky, I should say, when they're trying to be the shared universe. Like the best DC stuff stands on its own, while the best Marvel stuff is a soap opera.
Well, the Bruce Timm series, that spanned like 6 different animations, and that did pretty well, and that had major overarching storylines. So, I think, it depends on who's running it, really.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's one guy in one studio running everything. Like Marvel has that with Feige, so they can have a unified front like that. DC doesn't have that. Like they tried it with Johns, it didn't work. I mean, like they're better off just like what they do with the comics. Just let DC stories be DC stories, because there's a ton of different tones and feelings for all those movies.
Yeah,
let them happen.
I think it goes back to something we said a while ago, and it's true. Like, unfortunately, DC tried to do the opposite of Marvel. Instead of making some good standalone movies and then said, how can we fit these together to weave them into a universe? They went, let's slam them all together into a movie and make a universe, and then break off into individual films. And now, because it looks like now that they're going to the individual film route, at the moment it looks like that's the better choice. So, because again, Wonder Woman, standalone movie, probably the best one out of the group. You know, Aquaman looks like it's going to be really good. Shazam looks like it's going to be really good. Suicide Squad, forced team movie of characters we didn't know. Justice League, forced team movie of characters we didn't know. So, yeah, we shall see.
Yeah.
It would suck, I think, for everyone involved if it just kind of all falls apart at this point.
On the other hand, the TV series are doing well because now Constantine is going to be on Legends of Tomorrow more permanently, and that still has all of the shows interrelated, and even Black Lightning might be joining the group this year.
Yeah, but again, one guy. There's one that's Berlanti. Greg Berlanti's in charge of that.
Right.
There is no guy in charge of or not like not a producer, not one storyteller mapping out the DC films, and this is why it's just not quite clicking.
Right. Speaking of Jeff Johns, he explained the F Batman line from the Titans trailer.
Oh God.
And after I saw his explanation, I'm like, yeah, and it still doesn't work for me.
Because it's not the fact that Robin is in his anti-Batman moments, which we get. Yeah, of course, that's part of the story. I understand. It makes sense. It's the fact that he actually used the words "fuck Batman."
Yes.
That is the problem. And the answer is just very tone deaf, in my opinion.
Right, exactly. Because that's what he. Okay, you summed up the whole thing. Yeah, it basically said it's when he's breaking off from Batman and starting his own thing, and then what did he say too? It's like Titans was controversial at the time that it was released, and we want to try to keep that same tone. But just having Batman is not.
Well, I was a toddler when Titans made it big. Was Titans always controversial, or was it just controversial for the Judas contract stuff?
I don't remember it being controversial myself. I mean, I remember I've got a whole ton of Teen Titans stuff downstairs in the basement. And it's just, I
think it was controversial, in the fact that, no, I don't think it was at first, but then as it's these young heroes, they're all supposed to be teenagers, and they made a point of that in the book, but then dealing with these very adult themes. I think that's what made it controversial, right? Like the Judas contract obviously is one of the biggest examples of that, and they push out more and more after that. But again, you have to earn that, right? Like you can't start off Batman. You have to start off with here are the Titans, and then show a progression of Robin getting more and more moody and wanting to be apart from Batman.
I think I'd be okay with it. Not the line, because the line is just so. It's just so overdone and angsty. I think the problem with the trailer is that it's just so damn dark.
Yeah.
Like, it's so, I don't abhor violence or anything like that, but I mean, like, I don't know, I just never saw the Dove character from Hawk and Dove slicing dudes' legs off and stuff like that. Like, something about it rang very false to me.
Yeah, I never saw Dick Grayson, cracking guys' necks.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, it just doesn't, I don't know, man. Sometimes when DC tries to be cool, they kind of miss the mark. Like, and that's what this whole thing feels to me. It's like, look what we're gonna do, because we're not on the CW, and we have no limits, so we're just gonna have lots of blood and swear. It's just like, it just doesn't feel real to me. Like, if you did that in a Constantine thing, I would get it. But I mean, like, with the Titans, just, I don't know, man. It doesn't click.
No, I agree. So, I don't know. I'm not going to pay for the DC streaming app anyway, so I'll have to wait till it's
My
on.
wife's we're gonna get it for a month.
Oh, I'll have to wait till it's on Netflix. All right. I was like, yeah, I mean, other than what John mentioned earlier, yeah, I saw Constantine is going to be a main cast member this season on Legends of Tomorrow. But other than that, I didn't really see any other DC news. So there was some interesting news around everyone's favorite space opera. The cast of episode 9 was announced. Did you guys see this?
Yep.
Yeah, so we have of course all the main cast returning. Mark Hamill returning. People trying to say that was a surprise. I don't think, to me, that wasn't a surprise.
Yeah, he was going to be a blue glowy. There was no way he wasn't.
Right.
Yeah, if you ever watched a Star Wars movie, you know kind of how that was going to go.
Yeah.
We all know Billy Williams is reprising his role as Lando Calrissian. And Carrie Fisher is back as Prince Leia. Apparently utilizing unused footage from The Force Awakens. Before I comment on, what do you guys think of that?
They didn't write the character of Leia off yet, and if she's going to die, which I assume is going to happen, right. I'd rather it happen on screen than we start the next movie her being like, yeah, Leia's dead, and then go from and then go from there. Like, I'd rather see, and if they have the footage to use, like, I'm okay with it.
John,
that's me.
If they can do it tastefully and they've got the footage that they think they can repurpose, I completely agree with JD.
Yeah, my fear is, and I know this is gonna maybe be a little picky, but I don't care. You're repurposing footage that was for something else, and it makes me wonder: are you going to now have to write your script around those scenes to make them work? Is that going to work? And is it going to feel weird when maybe she doesn't have the emotional reaction she should be having at that point because it was for something else?
Well, I don't think it's going to be like the Fallout Boy stuff from The Simpsons, where they had to piece Milhouse's performance together. Like, I think they're going to do something that's going to work. I mean, they're not going to be that tone deaf.
Wait, what was that about Milhouse? I don't know.
Do you ever see that episode of Simpsons where they're making the Radioactive Man movie and they cast Milhouse to play Fall Out Boy and Milhouse quits and they say, "Oh, we can finish the movie with his with other reaction shots." It's hilarious. It's like, look out, Fall Out Boy, and he's like drinking a soda. It's super hilarious. I'm not a spoiler. It's like a 25-year-old episode of The Simpsons. I highly recommend it.
It all makes sense. Disney bought Fox. They were going through the Simpsons episodes, came to that one and said, "Oh, there's how we save episode 9."
So while on this subject, though, there's a famous Hollywood story about Back to the Future 2 that Crispin Glover didn't want to play. He didn't like the end of Back to the Future 1, and he refused to do the sequel. So all the shots of Crispin Glover in Back to the Future 2 are cutting room floor repurposed shots that they were unused in Back to the Future 1. Which actually led to a big lawsuit and stuff like that. But, so it can be done in a way that doesn't seem trite.
Yeah. Right.
Well, it all depends.
There was also, and in some scenes it was a double wearing prosthetics.
It was.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
they can do that now with computer generated stuff.
Right.
Which I hope they don't.
No, I don't think they're going to, because apparently the family doesn't want them to do that.
Well, again, if they can do it, I would rather it'd be a nice send off,
Right. They had said, the family agreed to use the footage, the existing footage that wasn't used before. They didn't like the idea of a CG Princess Leia. Mark Hamill's went to Twitter and had said, what was it? It's bittersweet facing my final chapter without her. She is simply irreplaceable. I'm finding solace in the fact that she won't be replaced, and would love the worldwide outpouring of affection from those who loved her when they heard the news. So yeah.
We're missing something else here. You realize that as far as the story is concerned, that's the end of the Skywalkers.
Yes, it's the final Skywalker chapter. They're saying,
unless what's her name is like the father's daughter's second cousin's former roommate or something.
What does that make us?
Absolutely nothing.
But you get my point, right? It's like there's no more Skywalkers. So after this, is it going to be the rumored Kenobis? Who knows? But so much for bringing balance to the Force.
Well, we talked about this when we reviewed.
Balance is nothing. That is balance. If there's none of them left, you can have better balance than zero.
We talked about this when we reviewed Last Jedi, where it kind of felt like the one thing Rian Johnson was trying to do was set up this idea that you don't have to depend on this one family to save the universe all the time. That, there can be other Jedis out there. There can be other people tied to the Force. And, I kind of agree. I felt they missed the mark. I kind of felt like, unfortunately, this isn't how they did it, but maybe they should have somehow ended the Skywalker storyline in Force Awakens and handed the torch off to Rey and started her, story as a Jedi and saving the universe. Like why has it always been the Skywalker family? Just because fans like that? It's like, okay, but it got old after a while.
Well, no, it was just handled badly, that's all. Blame the midichlorians.
I still maintain that if they had just done another Star Wars movie without Skywalkers, people would have been... Well, personally, I don't think you can make Star Wars fans happy. I just don't think it's possible.
Yeah.
I don't think you can't win, frankly. If there's too many Skywalkers. There's not enough Skywalkers. I don't want Skywalkers. Like, I'm done. Just let the movie come out and judge the movie for what it is instead of what it isn't. Like, I get real tired of that with the Star Wars things. Like, we always talk about what Star Wars isn't rather than what it is. Like, you can't read a review from a geek website talking about what was done in the movie instead of what wasn't in the movie. You know?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I think the best example of that is people complaining they never explained who Snoke was. Who cares what his backstory was? Do you watch every movie where there's an evil Lord, Emperor who's in charge and go, how did he get into power? The hero defeated him. How come they didn't explain any of that?
Oh, don't worry. In 20 years, they'll do a trilogy on his backstory.
That's so true, though. Like, the people that complain about Snoke, it's like, well, we didn't know his argument. We didn't know anything about Palpatine. We didn't even know his name was Palpatine until 1999.
Yeah. But, and that what I said, that actually will happen. Because right now, the kids that are growing up with that are the ones that will be the producers and directors later on, and they'll be the ones that'll push it.
Yes. And they'll be able to do it because they'll work for the only movie company at that time, Disney, and they own everything, so they'll be able to do it.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, was that out loud?
All restaurants are Taco Bell.
Oh, God.
Yes.
We're still waiting on Arnold to be the president. We could use him, actually.
So we haven't talked about this on the show at all because it doesn't really fit into the superhero genre. But I am a big Lord of the Rings fan. So those who don't know, Amazon is going to be launching their own Lord of the Rings TV series. And no, it's not a continuation off of the what was his name? Did the movies? It's not a continuation of the Peter Jackson or whatever. It's a retelling of the story again. This time it's a TV series. And they have hired the Star Trek Force Tribes to work on the TV series. So, which I kind of found interesting. I don't know what other things those guys have worked on. J.D. Payne and Patrick McKay to bring the TV series to life. So we talked about this before. Are you guys Lord of the Rings fans, and is this something you would watch? JD?
I've seen all the Lord of the Rings movies. I own them, but I don't know if I never read the books. I guess I don't love them. I enjoy them. Will I watch the show? I don't know. I probably have to wait for some reviews before making that kind of a commitment.
All right. Now, Mr. Dungeons and Dragons.
That's basically it. Yeah, I mean, I could take it or leave it. I'm not like Stephen Colbert levels of fanboyish about this. So, I'm with JD. I don't think I even own the movies. I haven't checked since the divorce, but yeah, I enjoyed them, but that's about it.
I don't know.
It's the same thing. They don't need to explain every single thing and make a movie about every single thing in it, and and make it. Next thing you know, we'll have the Lord of the Rings universe.
We kind of already got that.
We kind of do, but we've already had the movies, and the movies had everything from the books, including stuff from other books and from his notes. If they go any farther with that, then
all right.
Just going to expand it past where it should go.
Somebody who claims they're such a big D&D guy, you're.
Oh, if you're a D&D person, you really don't like a lot of the Lord of the Rings.
What are you
stuff.
talking about? The most of the stuff in Dungeons and Dragons is based on the Lord of the Rings. Yes, it is. Look it up.
No,
so anyway, it is. It is. Most of the creatures come from Lord of the Rings. Most of the lore comes from there. So anyway, I am a huge fan. I own the movies. I have all the extended cuts. I did lose interest with The Hobbit because of why they took such a short book. It stretched into 3 films. Was beyond.
Man, do those things meander or what?
Yeah, that was bad. Like that was a cash grab that was just like no. You can give us The Hobbit by itself, but do not give us 3 giant films again. It just didn't work. And I kind of felt after I watched the movies, like I enjoyed them. They were well done, but there was a lot that was cut out of the first 3 movies, from the books. And I've kind of always felt like, we now live in a world where we have, Game of Thrones, where they do each book is a season. That way they can get, as much detail in as possible. And, I kind of feel like that's what they should be doing with really good book series. I would love to see the Dresden Files get a treatment like that, So
that would be good.
So yeah, I mean, there's tons of characters that have been that were cut out of the Lord of the Rings. It's funny. Like, I've had this conversation with my niece and my wife, where my niece was complaining when we were watching one of the Harry Potter movies, and she's like, "That's not how it happened in the book," And it's like, my wife stopped and said, "Yeah, but they cut this part out of this book, which means they never introduced that character. So by the time you got to this movie, that character was never introduced as the one who actually did it in this book, but he doesn't exist in this world, so you have to have the other character do it." And I was agreeing, and then we're watching Lord of the Rings, and I'm complaining, the elves never showed up at Helm's Deep. And my wife turned to me and said, "Shut up." Because it's the same thing, they had to cut a bunch of characters out. Thus, how do we get out of Helm's Deep? Oh, the elves will show up and save them, so I'm excited.
Adaptations are hard.
I'm excited. I want to see what they do with it. I mean, I'm sure it's one of those things, after 2 episodes, you can tell if it's going to be good or not. So we'll see. That's my 2 cents. So those who are listening, let us know what you think. You're a Lord of the Rings fan, And if so, all right, this breaking news from today. It kind of
here we go.
Kind of goes along with what we said when we talked about the story last week. Of course, it's the James Gunn was let go from the Guardians of the Galaxy franchise, and as of today, the entire cast put an open letter to Marvel or Disney on the internet asking them to rehire him. And now, of course, I will say this: there are no outward threats of them walking away, but they're basically saying they're disappointed with how Disney handled it, and they let the court of public opinion basically make the decision for them.
Yeah, Disney. I mean, Bucky murdered Tony Stark's parents. He gave him a second chance.
So John, since you're right there with jokes, do you think it's going to end at this letter, or do you think this will escalate any further?
Oh no, I hope it's like we were talking about before. If you are going to allow these opinion waves sway you to do something like fire a very good director who had already apologized for this stuff way back when, and so it was already something that, as you said, the mouse already had to know about. If they're going to let them get pushed around, if they're going to be pushed around like that, all that's going to do is embolden other groups, like what did this, Cernovich, to go ahead and do it again to anybody else they disagree with. And we can't have that, because it'll just degrade into complete nonsense. And I'm hoping that maybe they get shamed into rehiring them. I don't know that they will, because God forbid anybody should ever admit that they're wrong and actually try to rectify the situation. But still, I mean, yeah, the fact that the entire cast is sticking with them makes me feel a lot better about saying, I believe his apology, and I think they really should rehire him.
What do you think, JD?
I called this last week. This was going to happen.
Yeah, you did.
More importantly, I like being right.
That is very important, yes.
I think this is a cool thing. I think that it's nice to see people loyal to their friends.
Yeah.
As far as that goes. I think John's got some points. I do think Disney knew about this because this was a thing in 2012. And the guy apologized for it, and, jokes are jokes. Again, these were not funny jokes. These were tasteless and crude and not funny.
They were shocking.
But, yeah. I kind of laid my case out last week, what I thought. I do think that it's in this day and age, when people run away from things at the first sign of trouble and the court of public opinion, it's nice to see people sticking by someone they believe in. Mm-hmm. Do I think Disney's going to change their mind? I don't know. Selfishly, I think that he's got the right tone for these movies.
Right.
I think he's the right guy to tell the stories. Do I think it's going to happen? I just don't know. I just don't know.
I actually just read what Chris Pratt wrote when he posted this.
Oh, yeah, he was full-throated in his support, and he said that she should be rehired back.
Well, I mean, I think what he says here is actually kind of important, too. He says, although I don't support James Gunn's... Oops, I accidentally clicked on the link to take me to Instagram. Although I don't support James Gunn's inappropriate jokes from years ago, he is a good man. I'd personally love to see him reinstated as director of Volume 3. If you please, read the following statement signed by our entire cast. So, I think that's an important distinction here. He's saying, you don't have to agree with jokes he made years ago, but that shouldn't be a stain on, his work at this point. So.
Yeah. And just to reiterate, okay, those people that are making the comparison between this and Roseanne Barr was still saying that stuff today.
We're not talking about that. Let's leave.
I know, but I want to make the point that
you want to make a political point. I understand.
No, it's not a political point. It's the point that people can grow, and if the entire cast is sticking with him, and he apologized for this stuff a long time ago. And yeah, when we're young, we do stupid things, and now that we've got the internet, so those stupid things are going to hang around for a very long time. We're going to, as a people, have to learn to accept that something somebody said 20 years ago does not necessarily indicate the kind of person they are today. Else we're all damned.
I agree with that sentiment, but again, as I said last week, that is a little moot in the fact that it wasn't 20 years ago. It was 2012, and he was
2010.
Well, he up
2007 to 2010.
Okay, so 2010, 8 years ago, and he was our age when he was doing it. So it's like, it's not like he was 18. He was in his 40s. So that argument I'm getting tired of hearing. But I agree.
Yeah, but still, nobody goes cold turkey from those kind. If he really meant that kind of stuff,
with the sentiment.
You would have heard something else by now.
I agree with the sentiment that JD made last week that he was doing this as to the early days of the internet to get attention. That's different. You're willing to admit, I made stupid jokes because I was trying to get people to follow me. It's one thing, but to sit there and say, I was young and naive. Well, no, you weren't.
Well, you can still be naive and be 40.
To be fair, there's a lot of stupid stuff said by men in their 40s on Twitter.
Yeah.
All the time.
Just about everything I say.
Just because you're older doesn't mean that you say the right thing.
Right.
It's just that is no better. I mean, and again, these were stupid jokes, but they were jokes nonetheless. I don't like them. But there's a lot of things I like to read, and there's a lot of art from artists I don't necessarily agree with everything they say. And again, this guy's not a NAMBLA member. It's not like it's real. It's just stupid jokes.
Right.
My only question is, where do we draw the line?
Exactly.
where is, and that is a legit question. I think this is an opportunity for a real line to be drawn, and what is, and I don't know the answer to this, by the way. This is for people far smarter than me to answer. What is the line? Do we fire everyone who has views that we don't agree with? And in some cases, you have to, because in Illinois, there's a legitimate Nazi running for the Senate, and he ain't gonna win. But it's one of those things where it's at what point where is that line to be drawn? And I don't know. So where is it?
So I think the issue is that we've erased the line that used to exist between celebrities, entertainment, and then everyday life and political talk. You know what I'm saying? Before Twitter existed, you didn't know James Gunn or Roseanne Barr's opinions on anything, unless you watched an uncensored interview with them somewhere, but a lot of that stuff was kept we don't talk about that because we're here to entertain. And as John always likes to talk about the four quadrants, lowest common denominator, we're going to keep all that stuff out of our talk because we're just promoting the thing for entertainment, and that's it. And now that line has been erased, but I always think, going back years ago, my father would always talk about Elvis, right? Because there were people that at one point were obviously they said a lot of things about Elvis in his career, but especially towards the end of his career where he was doing a lot of drugs and had all those problems and whatnot. And it was my dad said, I don't care about Elvis's personal life. I like his voice. I like his singing. He entertains me. The rest of that is inconsequential. So that should be the attitude we have about our entertainment. Don't you think? If you enjoy something, does it matter what's around it?
Well, there's still a line. I mean, yeah, okay, if they're telling bad jokes or just stupid jokes, or they're offensive in certain ways, it's free speech. But if they're if they're attending white nationalist rallies, well, I don't want to support somebody like that. I mean, if they're sitting there denying the Holocaust, that's kind of a problem. But the good thing is that most entertainers are like that. It seeps into what they do, and you get the chance to say no right off the bat rather than having to figure out through back channels or Twitter that that's the way they are.
I don't know how he went to denying the Holocaust, but okay.
No, but you're saying you're making this distinction of if a person's an entertainer, do their personal opinions matter? And I'm saying yes. In certain circumstances, they do for the extreme situations.
So I guess the question is should it be up to the consumer to decide where their personal line
Thank you. That's exactly where it is.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
That's the point I was trying to make. Like my father, that his line was, "I enjoy his. I'm going to buy records." That's where he decided where his line was. Whereas,
hey Dave. This situation actually just played out with the Channel Awesome thing on YouTube.
Huh?
Did you know what I'm talking about?
No.
So Channel Awesome, they just had blow up a couple of months ago about a lot of misogyny and some really dangerous situations they were putting some of the actors in behind the scenes.
I thought that was last year that happened.
No, it's only been a couple of months,
okay.
Dude. And it was a big thing because the biggest talent on Channel Awesome is technically the Nostalgia Critic, and they were never directly implicated, but they did apparently they did allow some things to happen or didn't do anything to stop certain bad situations. And what I guess their answer to it was to ignore the whole thing until it blew over, and now they're back to where they are, basically still making videos. They lost a lot of subscribers, but a lot of subscribers, as Dave said, was sticking with them because they thought they were funny, they liked the product, and they weren't so worried about what was going on behind the scenes.
Right, which I think you're going to find in a lot of cases, and that's the whole thing. I mean, if it's something people care about enough, they'll stop consuming the product.
It's fun. It's funny you mentioned Elvis before and like the attitudes of back in the day. Like, correct me if I'm wrong. Jerry Lee Lewis was a contemporary of Elvis.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When he married his 13-year-old cousin, that was pretty much the end of him as a pop culture icon, right?
True.
So, I mean, like, that's kind of the consumer speaks.
Right.
You know?
They drew the line. That's where they drew the line with him at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So and you just have to...
is there an argument, too, that the line is constantly moving, depending on where we are as a society and depending on severities of things? I think that's the issue. I think that's what it really comes down to is, like, we'll never know what the line is.
I think marrying your 13-year-old cousin, though, is way behind that line wherever it may.
I agree with that. And I think at no point in history, well, let's say past the 20th century, has that been an acceptable thing.
Yeah, Dark Age is completely different.
Yeah, even medieval Europe, the medieval royal family is perfectly acceptable.
See, we're finding the line.
That's what I'm saying. The line is constantly moving and evolving. And I think there's both good things. I mean, I do think society, I think we are in a better place. Like I always read online, oh, things are so bad. Oh, things are as terrible as they've ever been. Oh, at no point in history has America ever been this divided. Well, there was a civil war. A million people died. So maybe we're taking things a little too over the top.
Yeah.
But I truly believe, despite all the problems we have, I think this is the best point of human civilization, And I think that the downside of that is like we're still evolving and not everyone is in the same place. So I think that line has to constantly move because aren't we as people constantly moving and changing too?
Right. That is true. I definitely agree with that assessment. Where we are today is different than where we were 20 years ago, even sometimes.
I think even 10. Like, you see some of the stuff, like, you watch some TV from 10 years ago. There's jokes and stuff like that today you watch and you go, ooh, that doesn't play as well as it used to, you know?
That's like, yeah. Oh my goodness. What's his name?
Archie Bunker?
Well, yeah. The guy who created that show, created the, Norman Mailer, like, he just signed a deal to have a bunch of his shows remade. The Jeffersons, All in the Family, and I'm like,
you can't do All in the Family these days. Are you kidding me?
How are they going to do? I want to know, how are they going to do All in the Family today? Like, is it going to work? Is it going to make sense? Like,
no.
Norman Lear, excuse me. Geez, Norman Lear, different writer. I think you could. I think this is actually the best time, because I think people look back at the Archie Bunker stuff and they kind of lionize Archie Bunker, not realizing he was supposed to be a loudmouth idiot bigot. But Carroll O'Connor was so good at what he did that he became endearing. Yeah. And the character does grow and change and become a better person. So I think that you absolutely could do All in the Family, but you have to really be in the spirit of All in the Family.
Yeah.
You know?
That's
because it's the interactions that changed Archie Bunker as a character. It's living next to George Jefferson. It's having the meathead hippie son-in-law. You know, like I think actually, you know what? I think we need an All in the Family in this day and age, to be quite honest with you.
All right. We'll see.
We might be living in All in the Family at this point, actually. Now that you're describing it all, I'm remembering it all.
I mean, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I'll keep my eyes out open. We'll see where it goes. I mean, as long as it's not, I mean, I agree with you. Like, we need it, but we need it to be done in a way where it's fair and balanced. Like, one side isn't just a joke, you know?
Yeah. Sorry, that fair and balancing knocked me off. Go ahead.
As much as I dislike the terminology, I think you do have some validity with what you say, but I think at the same time the best characters are well-rounded people, and especially in television, like you have to start from a point where someone is one thing and they become something else. And I'm not saying you should take Archie Bunker and make him a progressive liberal, because that's not realistic. That doesn't happen. But I do think you could have some eye-opening experiences to introduce a character like that, which would be a great metaphor for the way, particularly the baby boomer generation has a hard time struggling with what the millennials are today. Right. You know, and I think you could do a lot of great parable stories of them understanding the greater world, which I do kind of think was the intention of the Roseanne reboot. I think that was kind of where they were going with it, but I think she might have been the wrong person.
Yeah.
There's no think. I take that back. She was definitely the wrong person at the wrong time to be that character. But I do think there's validity in the idea.
Right. No, yeah, I agree. Yeah, and that's like, take her personal stuff out of it, the way that show was written. Exactly. I think that's what they were going for. So, we'll see. Only time will tell. And I guess it also depends on where the shows end up, right? Like, if they end up on Netflix, they could probably get away with a lot more than what they could if it's on NBC or ABC. Well, it'll never be on ABC. The mouse won't allow it.
Maybe we can do an Archie Bunker type superhero show.
Oh, God. Wow, we've really degraded now.
We are asking for all of the hate from Twitter right now.
We just brought it back to our brand. That's
all.
So, yep.
I think that's a good place to end it for this week, guys. So for those who've been listening, whether it was this last topic, if it was the first story we talked about, or anything in between, yes, I'm stealing Phil DeFranco's sign off. Let us know what you're thinking on Twitter or in the comments down below. And yeah, So thanks for listening. And as always, don't let your cape get caught in the door. Have a good week.